Well, hello there. It's me, your favorite kitty cat across all of the internet, including but not limited to that one hole you go into where there's a lot of grumpy dwarves, the Sig Marxism Reddit, as well as that one place. You know the cafe I'm talking about, the one on 3rd Street, where you think they don't see you talking to that cute boy, but I see you talking to that cute boy, because I'm secretly a barista. You didn't know that, did you? Oh well. Anyway, I decided that I wanted to play a little bit of Warhammer Online, Return of Reckoning, because this is a private server thing, Mahoosit, and I think I've talked about this before, but yeah, you can play Warhammer Online for free! Isn't that neat? And I recently joined their Discord, and I was talking to some folks in there, and they seem pretty friendly. And I was just going to talk a little bit about what I love about Dwarfies and Warhammer and stuff like that while playing a Rune Priest for a little bit. I thought maybe some of y'all would enjoy that, and hopefully you do. And if you don't, well, I'll tell everyone about your secret liaisons with Kevin. Yeah, you didn't think I knew his name, did you? I know all the names of the cute boys. I have a book for it. But yeah, honestly, I still think this game looks pretty alright considering I think it was released in... Oh, geez, now I don't remember exactly. I want to say like 2010. I could be wrong on that, actually. Let's see. This is what I have other screens and stuff for. When was Warhammer Online released? Oh, 2008. Okay, so I was kind of close. I thought it might have been 2008, but I said 2010 because I'm a silly Billy. Anyway, we're going to turn off these tutorials because I have played this before. Okay, I'm going to move this over here. They've added a bunch of nice little updates, like lifey improvement type updates. You can see here that now you can kind of see like the status of the various different cities, or like, you know, so this is Prague, which is like Prague in Czechoslovakia, or well, as it's now known, the Czech Republic. I'm sorry, I'm still used to calling it Czechoslovakia because of my Soviet days in the academy. But anyway, Prague, Safri, Nordland, and Ekrond, Mount Bluntford. That's where I am right now. This is Ekrond. Ooh, it's a little mossy up there. They should go up there and clean that. But they have a gigantic forge, so that's pretty cool, you know. Honestly, I've always liked dwarves a lot. I still have up on my shelf over there, I still have my army books from 6th edition and 7th edition. And the interesting thing is that one of those army books actually technically was released during 6th edition, but basically became the army book for 7th edition. And yeah, I still go back and read that one sometimes. I also go back and read the 6th edition one. The 6th edition one is probably one of my favorites because you get to see that there's like the way they did these books is that they had little stories in them, like there was a guy who like was an old beard, long beard, telling some younger dwarves in a tavern, or I don't know if it's actually a tavern or they call it something different. Basically a bar, and he was going in there and he was telling them some different things about his experiences and like the stories about like how things were made and like how oh, there's the book. Oh yeah, I'm just doing the quests. That's where the book is if you need it. And things like that. Oh. What's this lady doing here? Why are her textures? Oh, look at that. Look at those textures. They're popping and locking. Hey, that's a great texture happening there. I'm a point. But yeah, like they have these little short things, and he's like in like an ale house, and he's talking to all the different peoples in there and telling them like, oh, you know, back in my day, then blah 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 blah, and then he's like telling them stories about like how the hammers came to be a thing and how like different dwarf things happen and like why the miners are fighters and then, like all these other things, and he talks about longbeards. It's really cool. I really like it. And this is the thing you actually see across a lot of the 6th edition codexes, which is why the 6th edition Ogre Codex is one of my favorites. Because ogres are some of my favorite boys. I like to slap their big tummies and they go, ho 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 ho, you are a cat. And then sometimes they try to eat me, but then they just turn into giant ogre versions of me. And, then they learn that they shouldn't do that. And then next thing you know, there was all kinds of me. And then we formed our own ogre tribe. It was pretty cool. But I did, for a little while here, travel around with the dwarves. I've really learned, and it turns out that their army book is very correct. These guys are very into age, wealth, and skill. And of course, it's only right and proper that a dwarf will tell you that the dwarves are actually technically the oldest of all. Their wealth is far exceeding anybody else. And of course, they're the most skilled crafters and builders and warriors in the world. It's not, bragging. It's just telling you the truth, setting the record straight, or that's the way they would say it. But I also like they all had these really fun beards. Sometimes they tried to braid my fur into like little beard patterns, and sometimes it worked. I could grow out more fur, but then I have to brush more, and it's kind of a hassle. I like the fur that I got now, and my whiskers. Whiskers. I can feel all kinds of things and smell all kinds of things as it is. They thought I was a weird talking cat, but they tried to give me alcohol, but alcohol does not work on me. So I just drank a bunch of it, and it was kind of tasty. Kind of tasted like bread a little bit. They were all drunk though, and I was kind of worried that they were gonna have a headache when they woke up, and they did. They did. Oh, I think I accidentally covered up my quests. I did. Can I hide this? Let's see here. Oh, I can. Oh, the other cool thing, now that you start with this, is that it'll... Actually, I would like to, I guess, see how Aldorf and the City are doing. The rest of it I can kind of take or leave. We're going to go in here and we're going to... Hello, little friend! I see that you are not immediately hostile, so I will do... Wave. He has been waved to, and now he feels very greeted, which is great. But yeah, honestly, I love everybody in the Warhammer universe, even the big scary guys, but it's okay. You see, because of my magical cat powers, I can turn anybody into a good boy and or good girl, and I can help them. And I actually established this place called the Cafe of the Undead, which is kind of nice because you can go in there no matter what alignment you had, and you can have a nice little meal. And I've made elves and dwarves sit down and have nice steak dinners and chicken and squig meats and orcs and stuff like that. And there was this one time I had a bunch of beastmen come in and I taught them to be civilized, and they went back into the Warhammer world, but with guns, and they seemed like they really enjoyed the sound of guns. Although I had to be careful and tell them that they need to protect their ears with, not Miffin. Earmuffs, that's right. For some reason, I was thinking about mittens, but for your ears. I mean, I have put mittens on my ears before, but it's not the most effective thing, What's that? I like being able to do rune magic. You see, I'm actually a big magic-y cat. It's pretty neat. I do like this class a decent amount. When I first played this game, the very first character I ever played and got to level 40 was an Ironbreaker. But at the time, I didn't really know too much about MMOs, so I was kind of mostly just playing this because it was Warhammer, and I was just going through and just smack. And it wasn't really working too well for me, it turns out. I was kind of playing it wrong. But that's okay. There was another time I played World of Warcraft and I made a dwarf, but all I did after a little while was because it was like the 7-day free trial, was I found the... I wonder if I could just sit here and kill a bunch of squigs and get more points with that lady. I don't know. I guess I'll play around with it for a minute while I talk. But yeah, no, I just sat, and I don't know what the city is called in World of Warcraft, but I just rode this tram back and forth between the dwarf city and I think it's the human city. And it was really fun, and I met some people, and I would talk to them, and I would wave at them, and I would do little dances for them. And a couple of them gave me like a few gold coins and things like that for just being entertaining on the tram. Although I thought that was weird, because apparently if you do that near mailboxes, people hate you. I don't really know why. But it was still fun. And I greatly enjoy... Look at the happy squeak boys. And isn't it nice that they get to run around and eat stuff forever? This is basically their afterlife if you think about it. It's like a Valhalla type thing, but for squigs and snotlings. Also, aren't these snotlings a little big? I thought snotlings were much shorter than this, but that's okay. They're still cute boys. Cutie wooties. I'd pet their little heads. Pet your head or you'll end up dead. Pet your head or you'll end up dead. But yeah, honestly, engineers were always one of my favorites. My favorite dwarf hold is Zufbar, or I think Zufbar. I'm not 100% sure how you say it actually. I know how you say Barak which is one like my second favorite dwarf hold. I always really like Barak because it was the cosmopolitan area, and I've always liked cosmopolitan cities and stuff like that. Like back when I used to play, when I was much a tinier cat, and I played Command and Conquer Red Alert 2. I always liked sending my engineers out and making it so I could mix forces. So, for instance, I could have like a Soviet force, but also an Allied force, and stuff like that, and combine their guys together so I could have a bunch of different stuff. I don't know. That was just always fun to me. I always liked the cosmopolitan nature of things, which is why Bar was one of my favorite cities because you had all kinds of different peoples mixing together, and I kind of like the idea that they were maybe less angry towards elves and things like that. Because I gotta tell you, after exploring the old world, one of the few downsides of dwarves is that they don't seem to let things go. I mean, personally, I'm much more about letting things go. I may or may not have been like, oh, hey, I bet I could burn their book of grudges, and then they couldn't remember their grudges, but that's not how that works, unfortunately. And I didn't want to burn their books because they seem like they really like their books. So it would be rude to go up to their books and be like, ah, fire! But I thought about it. Even then, isn't it fun? Look at this guy. Doesn't he look like he would be a comfy guy to hang out with? Although right now he looks kind of angry. But he's got this nice, he's got a little bit of a belly. He's got these big, strong arms. So you know he can lift things really well. So he'll probably lift things for you, and then he'll go, will you pay me in ale and or cakes? Personally, for me, I would prefer cakes. But yeah, I don't know. I always really enjoyed dwarves, and I always really liked painting dwarves. Dwarves were my first army, and honestly, I painted them terribly. But I had like basically a big gunline army that had a lot of organ guns and a lot of thunderers, and I had a bolt thrower that I would. You couldn't put, so there were runes that you could put on certain like war machines and things like that, but you couldn't put them on organ guns because I guess they were too new, so you couldn't put them on there. But I would put them on other things. So what I would do is I just have this big line of organ guns and thunderers and stuff like that, and then I would have a couple of bolt throwers, and I would throw on all kinds of runes so that the bolts could like burn people or do like special kinds of damage, or like do more damage. Or I'm trying to remember, I think there was one that would let you cause fear when it, or so I'd actually have to grab the book and remember what runes I specifically put on there. But I put a bunch of runes on there, and it was always a lot of fun to mess around with that. And I always really enjoyed the different combinations of runes, because with dwarves you could do some really cool stuff with their magic items, because most armies they just get a magical item and it's just like, this is just one item. But with dwarves you could put a mixture of runes on your magic items. So you could put 3 runes on an item, and but you also, like for instance, if something was a master rune, you couldn't put more than one of that in a single army, I believe is how it worked. I would have to refresh my brain a little bit on how that worked. But there was fun. There was like a whole bunch of rules and stuff like that. And dwarves didn't really have magic per se, but you could bring like an anvil of doom and strike out certain runes. That was kind of like your magic. And you could bring rune priests who had their own like kind of buffs and stuff that they could do, but they could also like shut down the enemy magic phase, which I always thought was really fun. I remember going against I believe, yeah, it was an ogre army, and the guy brought a butcher and things like that, and they're trying to cast spells, but my rune priest was just on point that day and just shut down everything. It was also funny because he at one point charged a group of thunderers with 6 ogre bulls, And the Thunderers, even though they're just like blind guys with guns, because they're still decent at close combat, or like okay, they're not great. They actually managed to win and push back the ogres and kill like half the squad, which I thought was really cool. And then, I had some warriors come over and finish them off. But that was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed playing the dwarves. They were a lot of fun to play. I've always been really... I always really like gun armies. Like gunline armies have always been a lot of fun to me. It's always been a lot of fun, I think, to just run through and really I don't know, it's just something really fun to me about bang and then a whole bunch of guys are dead and then bang and a whole bunch of guys are dead, and like there's something kind of fun about trying to wear down the enemy and then like charge forward with a couple of like elite units, like a couple of units of iron breakers, or in my case they were usually slayers and longbeards, and sometimes they were like dwarf rangers, which were a lot of fun to use. Another thing that was kind of neat in this army book, I don't know if I ever really used this. I usually, because I interpreted the rules as you had to pick either or, but I think you could technically take both, because the way the language was worded for warriors, you could take great weapons and shields. I think that was actually a mistype, though, and I don't know if you could actually do that, but I got away with doing it a couple times and just being like... Because I didn't think it was against the rules at the time, but later on, looking back, I'm like, that doesn't seem like it was right. But I asked the person at the local store, and they said, no, it looks like you could do that, because like the language in the book didn't say either great shields or shields. I'm sorry, great weapons or shields. So it looked like you could actually take both. And there was an interesting combination to have, because then you could have better armor and still also hit harder. Of course, if you're playing against someone who's going to like hit you first, but they're going to hit you hard, and that doesn't really help. But if you're playing something like High Elves, because High Elves always had the rule in... I think they had it in 6th, but they definitely had it in 7th, where they always strike first. So you could just get up really close, and it didn't really matter that you were going to... Because with great weapons, you always strike last. So it didn't really matter. So that was always cool, and that was always a lot of fun. It was always a lot of fun to like sit there and like like one of my favorite parts, even more so than playing, honestly, was just army building. Was just like sitting there and really going through all the different little things you could kit out your guys with. And I got pretty familiar with what the dwarves had and what worked and what didn't work, and what things I really liked and what things I didn't like to bring. It was funny, though, I remember also very specifically, the first time I brought lizardmen, the first time I played against lizardmen, and the first time I brought slayers, I was still really new to the game, and most of my previous games have been small, and I would just bring a lot of guns. But this time I brought like my slayers and my warriors and all of it. But the thing was, my slayers were just getting absolutely decimated. Like right across the board. I can't even remember what he had that was hurting them so much. But he was just absolutely decimated. So I brought my slayers into cover. And later on, I remember thinking that is just like the most unslayer thing to do. To make my guys like run into cover. But at the height of my dwarf army, it was actually 10,000 points. It was 10,000 points if I fully kitted it out. If I fully kitted out everything. But it was a very hero-centric army. There was a lot of dwarf lords and a lot of like rune lords and stuff like that, with a lot of different abilities and upgrades on them, and a lot of runes. I think at the end of the list, I had nearly used at least one of every single rune in some combination for like weapons and armor and stuff like that, because there was also armor runes, so you could do weapons or armor, or I think there's like a separate, I don't remember if they're called war machine runes or what they're called, but like you could put them specifically on like siege engines and stuff like that. And there were runic banners and all kinds of things, and I would combine them, and you could make some really, really devastating combinations. I'm trying to remember how, if it was a d6 per wound, but there was one rune that you could give in combination with another rune that could basically make it so a dwarf lord could get off like 20 runes. I'm sorry, 20 wounds in a single combat if he got into close combat. And that was always kind of funny that you could do that. Like you, but of course that also meant that this dwarf lord ended up costing, I think, like 300 points, and you could, if you focused fire and killed him, then that was like a lot of points just in one guy just gone. Because he wasn't like a named character or anything. It's just because of the combinations. You could also put like him in a unit and give like that unit a banner, and it was crazy. You could really stack up and make him a really, really powerful unit by himself. But I'm remembering, and it was always so much fun to sit there and do these kind of things. And sometimes like guys would not expect you to have something like that. Like I remember, okay, now that I've killed that many, let's see how many points we get from the kill collector. Or is it kill collector? Yeah. Let's see how many points we get. Or how much experience. Hopefully it's a decent amount, because that was like 50 squigs. Actually, wait, let's see. How many squigs did I kill? This is another thing that's kind of cool in here. You can actually see 70. Wow, yeah. You can actually see how many you've killed. So let's see. 2,700. That's not bad. That's 25%, like a quarter of a way to another level, but I'm probably going to sit here and just keep doing that. I just wanted to see. So we're already at level 3, so that's pretty good. Oh, wait, there's a quest here. I don't remember there being a quest here. What is this quest? So sacks of gold ore. You know, I'll do it real quick just because I'm here. But yeah, so you could do some really crazy stuff, and that was always fun. And dwarves are also always fun because, you know, there were all kinds of rules that really felt like they were just like for the fluff. Like for instance, if you had some long beards, one of the fun things that you could do is, they would like, because there was a morale test thing that you would do. So if you're, oh, it's back here. Sacks of gold ore. Oh wait, did he say? What these? Locate them. Because I think they're just laying out somewhere. I remember this quest. I just don't remember exactly where the gold ore is. But I'll find it. I'm trying to remember if you had to kill something to grab it. I don't think so. Let's see. Sacks of gold, or I don't see it. Okay, wait. Oh, they are inside. Okay, never mind. I'm silly. But yeah, no, there's a lot of really fun stuff that you could do back in the day. I remember having a lot of fun with Warhammer 7th edition. And that also had like my favorite Orc Codex. That was the first Orc Codex I had, Orc and Goblin Codex. And I really enjoyed playing Orcs and Goblins and going through, and because that was another army I played a lot of, was Orcs and Goblins, and I always had a lot of fun with my Night Goblin Fanatics, because I would just I would have a ton of them, and so sometimes when the two armies would meet, suddenly you would just have just like 9 fanatics going through, and you'd almost always inevitably have at least one going back through your own regiments. But that was a lot of fun. I really like the dwarves in Warhammer specifically as well, because they have a lot of ingenuity. Like they're really smart. Like they have big steam trains, and like there was one book where the dwarf actually built like basically automatic turrets that could detect or like figure out what was an enemy and what wasn't an enemy, and would automatically shoot and stuff like that. That was really cool. I'm trying to remember what book that was. I think it was actually a Skaven book. I think it was one of the Thanquol books. But no, that was always a lot of fun. And they have their gyrocopters, and if you ever read the Gotrek and Felix books, there's like a giant zeppelin that they have is basically like a gigantic flying fortress. It's like, oh man, just so cool. These guys are so cool. I love the kind of like steampunk. Well, maybe not steampunk. Steampunk might not be exactly the right word, but I really like their the way they kind of fight, and like you could get like basically like Gatling guns and Gatlin, whatever. You could get like big guns, and you can get like steam cannons, and you can get like lava weapons, and all kinds of really fun stuff. The dwarfs are always, I think, if shoved far enough up the nostrils, these tiny pieces of gold can choke a snotling. Oh, that's fun. So basically, rather than just strangle a snotling, you're gonna take some gold out and shove it up its nose. Okay, crate of cannonballs. Oh, access to war camp. This is another thing they added, so that now you can basically just go straight to the war camp and travel around, which is kind of neat. I'm gonna go through some of these quests though, just because it's been a while since I've done it, and this little area is pretty cool. I also like the dwarven design on a lot of things, like that big mustache man there is pretty cool looking. Why are you inside of there? Why are you all getting inside of crates? That's an odd thing for you to do, sir. Although it's kind of nice because I have magic and eventually I'll heal real good. It's kind of the cool thing is that this guy has, he's kind of a support guy in a lot of ways. I'll eventually be able to, heal everybody really well as kill them all. I think you can do a decent amount of damage, but from what I've been told, I don't think you can actually, like, completely focus on damage as a rune smith, or I think it's just rune priest. Yeah, rune priest. Oh my god. I feel like a lot of the quests at the start are also really quick, so you can actually level up pretty quickly. Although one of the best ways to level up is to go for RVR. See, someone said something to me, and I hadn't really thought about it this way, but one of the things this game basically is that it's basically actually a PvP game with PvE elements around it as well. But I killed the troll. Fuck you, troll. Those are actually stone trolls. If you look at them, you can tell by their ears and their face that those are stone trolls. Although they kind of look like they have like the regular kind of troll body as well. This is a very accurate cannon. There was another thing that was always nice about like dwarf guns is that they the dwarf handguns that the thunderers would have were actually rifled so that they were slightly more accurate. You got a +1 to hit, and they were also armor piercing. So they were pretty cool. I always like those a lot, which are better than the Empire handguns, they were not rifled. But dwarves are, the best crafters ever. Even if you don't necessarily like their style, I would say that they're still better than high elves. High elves definitely are way superior to them in magic, though. Like way superior. And I will say that, I do like Age of Sigmar a decent bit, but I'm not really a big fan of what they've done to dwarves in Age of Sigmar. I like dwarves from Warhammer Fantasy a lot more, and it's kind of the same thing with High Elves. And honestly, a lot of the factions of this sort of carried over. I don't know if I'm as big a fan of the way those factions are versus the way they were in the old world. I feel like the old world, in a lot of ways, it was kind of more generic. Like the world itself was more generic. You can really see a lot of the just plain old Tolkien and plain old like D&D type influences in the Warhammer world, but I have to say that it often felt much more characterful to me, and it felt much more like there was just like a specific feel. I mean, like there was a specific aesthetic to everything Oh Lord, don't mind me. That was just going on in that world, and I always thought that was just really cool. Like this just has like a feel. I don't necessarily like that it was always like oh, you gotta get this human fire brew. That it was always kind of negative, mind you. Oh, hello. The caverns of this place have long been homes of dense dark. More scouting would have been a prudent measure. They have brought this doom upon themselves. I can deliver a digger's duds. Basically, he's telling me to... Oh, what is this? Oh, there's another brewer. Oh, this guy. Hello. I like ale. Would you like to give me some? Thank you. Keg and special. Slay the leaders of public quest at Ekron and Mount Bloodhorn. Okay. Small gold bag. Oh, 5,000 XP. This is gonna be fun. Okay, I'll go do that. Well, I won't do all that right now. That would take a while. But yeah, that is one thing I didn't necessarily like about the old world was that it was always very dark, and so sometimes it was really nice to have it just be a little less, you know, scary, and just have things be a little more I have to go back this way for the Bitterstone. Okay. I would like it if things were a little bit more positive. And, you know, in my head, basically, this whole area is a little bit more stable now. Thanks to Catte. And thanks to my great cafes. Great cafes with great deals and great muffins and great sandwiches. Honestly, I really like the Turkey Club. And we don't even have to kill a turkey to do it. We just grow turkey meat. It's pretty weird, but pretty tasty. So if you're a vegetarian, I guess you could technically have it, because, you know, we don't actually kill an animal for it, we just grow the product. Neat. Okay, Bitterstone. Oh. It's just right here. Okay. What a quest! Oh, man, isn't that fun. Oh, and one thing I'll maybe show you here is, if you look down in the corner there, you can't dance in this one. Basically, you just always get rebuffed. I don't think you can actually dance at all. I don't think there's actually a way to get like the emote dance, which is kind of interesting. I do really like this dwarven statue though. Look at that. Look at that. Look at him just holding up the big old shiny ore. That's cool. Tired dwarves though. Oh, but you can do this. And then you can you can eat and drink, so that's cool at least. And I'm pretty sure I think the animation is actually, maybe it's not exactly the same for elves, but it's similar. I think you still pull out basically a gigantic squig leg, because that looks like it's like a squig leg. Hello, fireman. Would you like more fire brew? I always like Shadow Gray. Shadow Gray is actually one of the colors that I painted my first Space Marine army in, which I thought it looked cool. I always like gray. But yeah, here, let's go check out this area. I always ended up honestly liking the Empire more than the dwarves later on, but I still liked being a dwarf, and I still liked being a grumble boy. Grumble, grumble, grumble. I am Grumbles. Grumble, grumble, grumble. And now a kill. Zip, zip, zip. No, now I can't kill in one hit. Oh wow, I only need to kill one. That's pretty cool. But yeah, they added a lot of little updates, and I would say that this is worth checking out and joining up if you like the old world. You can play around in this, and it's all free, and honestly, it's just a pretty good game. Anyway, I'm gonna kill some goblins, and oh, what the fuck? Oh, okay, it's a... I thought it was gonna be way stronger than that. Thank goodness it wasn't. I'm not meant to deal with trolls. Look at me. I'm beautiful. I also have a nose ring. See my nose ring? I have a kind of a weird shaped nose, but I got a nose ring. So that's cool. Anyway, I just felt like babbling and telling you guys a little bit about my time with dwarves back in the day and some of the things I liked about dwarves. I don't know. This is the kind of content I like to make. Isn't it fun? It's fun for me. And it's fun for the cafe. They always like hearing my stories. We should brew more coffee and tea in the cafe. Dwarves always drink a little too much. No, well, anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And remember, it's always good to comb your beard and to comb your hair. Make sure you keep yourself pretty. Bye-bye. Have a great one.